G'day punters and welcome to this week's edition of the Melbourne Punters Show. As usual, Darren Potter,
Anthony Jupp,
Tuppy,
Dan Kelly.
DK, good to have you back, DK.
Pots, yes, glad to be back.
Now, DK, you were missed over the weekend. I spent 3 days up at Swan Hill and I've come back a far better person for it. It is, I'm going to say, it's as good as going to Warrnambool. Yeah. It's a brilliant carnival. I can't tip it highly enough. Next year, if we all want to go up there and do the show from there, I'm more than happy to do it. Absolutely. It is brilliant.
I've been going for about 5 or 6 years, and then I missed this year obviously with the new bub and everything. But so I take the family. I go up sort of drive up myself on the Thursday night or something.
Yeah.
And then the family get on the train and come up. So they come up for up for the weekend, and there's Swan Hill was a good tourist town anyway. Don't have to be interested in races, but then the races is just fantastic. And as you know, everyone sort of congregates together, all the racing industry. Whereas it's sort of Warrnambool, apart from the whalers at 2 a.m, everyone's pretty much spread out at Port Fairy and all the pubs. Swan Hill, everyone's drinking at the commercial club, and, and having dinners and everything. But it's just great, isn't it?
It's like I got to speak to bookies, punters, jockeys, trainers, strappers, the works. Everyone was, as you say, either in the commercial club or you see them when you're out having dinner, or there's only a couple of places to go to have a drink. So everyone's sort of together, and everyone's happy to be there, and it's. The weather's not. We were lucky. The weather was good up there. The mornings were chilly, and the evenings were quite cool, as the weather has been lately. But there was brilliant sunshine on all days, and it was just a great meeting.
That social aspect. I mean, in the heyday in the '80s when the bookies were flying, and everyone used to congregate. They used to go to big groups, used to go out after the races and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just gone now. And we've got families and things anyway, but we wouldn't be doing it these days. But it's something you really look forward to at those carnivals is congregating and seeing people you don't see very often. And
you just went through a whole congregation of people there that you spoke to, Juppy. Any stewards up there?
I did actually have a drink with one of the betting supervisors after the last day.
Right.
But not the actual stewards. I'm sure they were up there, but I don't know whether they were out and about or not.
Normally they do. I've been there, they call in for a drink after dinner to the pub and that, and just having a look. They're not deliberately having a look, but the jockeys get breathalyzed. They know they're going to get done in the morning. And
I'd imagine they would have been very busy. There was some shenanigans going on up there. It was an
interesting meeting there on Saturday.
And that's the beauty of these carnivals is the horses being set for it, and they're the same with Warrnambool, I mean, and the same trainers bob up every time, and it's just amazing the improvement.
Well, they might as well.
It's just great, and money for the horses.
Next year there should be a race called the Trent Penuto Birthday Handicap, because every year he goes up there and has a birthday.
He does, but he's got because he had the Tony Vassell connection. And he was Tony Vassell's foreman, and probably taking the horses up, and Tony was still at Caulfield when Elstrom, Harada, all that winning. So obviously Trent's in love with it, and now when he's out on his own, he's setting horses for it, and I backed one of them, because I just knew that he'd just spot on for the day and everything like that. So good on him. So he's a trainer you really want to follow. And there
is one interesting character I managed to meet there over the weekend. A young gentleman who goes by the pseudonym of Tote Crusher, who was there on the Saturday and managed to take out the $100,000 tournament whilst being at Swan Hill and betting on Swan Hill as well. He said he was giving me regular updates during the day, and well done to Tote Crusher. Huge effort to win the 100k tournament. So we'll raise a glass to him.
Well done, Tote Crusher.
Good man. Swan Hill with plenty of these he would have had as well.
Well, as usual, I played with Paulie. He was in the commercial club. I was in the RSL club. Didn't find him to stip him for a beer after the last on Saturday.
Only a beer.
But a good boy, because from what you told me, he'd won the tournament, and rather than just celebrating, he was betting on the dogs all night.
Yeah, he was there betting away.
In the tone of the commercial club, was he just,
And also, as he said to me, he was giving me regular updates, like I'm 4th at the minute and I'm 5th. And he just goes, at that stage, he goes, geez, I wish Swan Hill was part of the tournament because I'd have an unassailable lead at this point because he did back a couple of winners.
He's having a good day.
But
he must have had a strategy to back something on the last.
I think he had 300,000 or something on the winner of the Oaks. So
what's wrong, little man?
He managed to find. Let me have a look. It was the last in Brisbane.
It was a Kiwi horse. They won all the big races up there, apart from the Stradbroke.
Where is it? Because I'm pretty
right in the bottom. Provocateur. That's it.
Provocative. That's it. And he managed to find that, shoved all in, and that was the end of the penny section. He managed to win the tournament. So another really successful tournament. Like I know we'll be
I think that concept, the 4-week tournament, it's a bit like a golf, evolves like a golf tournament in a way. I think the only part that I don't personally like is that so much comes down to the last race. But
that's it. And the bloke was out in front, he had 600,000 in front, wasn't he? Whoever the leader was, and he's got run over. You know, done all the right things. And
well, I know that's one thing that we'll probably, the three of us, will be looking forward to come the spring. There'll be some big tournaments there. We'll be back on our home deck, and we're dealing with our horses in the form that we're used to, so we can't wait for it.
We'll be doing race 9, working backwards though, doing race 9 first, and then seeing how they go. And if Ascadeli's in the last or something, or moral, then we'll say, now we can play. And
But that's the other thing about it. That's and an interesting part about it is a complete, and we've said this before, completely different way of thinking of things and way of tackling a day's betting. And if you can manage it right, it doesn't affect, like with toe crushing, it doesn't affect the other stuff that you're doing around the world. But that's one thing that I know I've battled with, that often I find it hard to do both.
Obviously, you can do it if toe crusher, sitting at Swan Hill with Stubby and one mobile phone and the other, blasting away.
So,
well, I wasn't in the tournament, but I was engaged enough to continually check the leaderboard, and I was looking particularly at some of our subscribers like Greg Emblem and Mangy, and
they were all up there, were they?
And Kevin Skeen was putting in an appearance, so I was cheering for those boys. But well done to at least get into that the last race where you can have a big bet on something and be some hope. So well done to all of them.
The other revelation was the fact that they put up match bets and some other stuff, so that if you weren't actually in the tournament, you could still have an interest in the tournament by betting on the outrights and the head-to-heads and a few other things. So
I think it's great that one of the favourites didn't win. You know what I mean? Like someone out wide at Swan Hill. I was happy with it.
Well, it's not one of the super pros. Finally, and there's your chance. It's your chance to take on the big pros, your Kingsleys, your Glens, and all these other places are doing it each day and whatnot. It just shows that you can still beat them. So well done to Toe Crusher. And as I said, if anyone's considering it for next year, if you've been to Warrnambool or any of the other big carnivals, can't wrap Swan Hill enough.
So how was the betting, mate? The betting ring was...
it was good for the punters, not so much for the bookies.
No, the results looked fine. They were better set of results.
Yeah, it was tough there for the bookies, and it was one of the few meetings that I can recall where there were waves. Like it was... Oh,
they lay them a couple...
You were laying it... You were averaging it out, but you were standing them for plenty.
There's one I wanted to ask you about, Juppy. Did the $6 thermal current, how long did that last in the ring? Because the fluctuations were funny. It was like 440.
Yeah, in the early market, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then $6 seemed to appear. Then all of a sudden, it was straight. Like it just went boom, boom.
I don't really want to throw these couple of boys up under the bus because they are good boys and I like them and I get along well with them a lot. But it is very difficult to do the flux at Swan Hill because the ring is completely opposite one another, and you're trying to take the prices off both sides, and there's a heap of people there. And it is hard to see them all the time, so I don't want to throw them under the bus, but there were plenty of times where you looked up at the flux screen and a horse was said price, and the best I could see anywhere else was 2 rolls under it.
Right.
So it is a bit tricky, but you're right, because I was the same pots. I would have liked to have been on it top fluck. Some bookies refused to bet top fluck. We're not going to name them. For obvious reasons, that it is just...
If you said some cowboys betting $6 thermal current, you sort of hard to can't blame them, you know? Why should they bet someone else's price?
And especially if they don't want to bet, like, and I'm not pumping my tyres up here, they don't want to bet someone with half an idea, top fluck, well, that's understandable.
People who bet your top fluck are probably someone who you bet with all the time.
Yeah.
Like Freddie and that, Freddie Watts, who you put a lot of business through him, so he's happy to... But if you just walk up to a bloke, say, give us 400 top flight knackers, and you have 2 bets with him a year, he'll say, on your bike, son, you know.
Or some of them who just... And he is a friend of the show, so we'll mention him, Jonathan Walsh. He makes a running joke with me that I'm not allowed to have a top flight with him. And that's understandable, and that's Jono's choice. Thank you, Jono. Price on the board, no problems.
In my case, I was doing some form for Flemington, and that was the one race I'd sent out that day, Thermal Current and the other weird horse, Mirage.
Yeah.
And I was like, every 2 or 3 minutes checking the betting, and so the $6 must have happened, like halfway between me checking, because it was 440. I went back and it was 460, and somewhere in between it had been $6 bet. How long did that last?
Well, and that's the other thing. Things just go off incredibly quickly now. all the big syndicates are very, very good at the way they operate now. So prices, if they are going to collapse, they just don't last long.
And they set themselves for those sort of carnivals like Warrnambool and Swan Hill because they can get on for something. You know? Whereas today, Geelong Synthetic or whatever, you just nearly impossible to get on for.
Well, I nearly hazard to say that there wasn't a terrible amount of difference between the strength of the ring at Swan Hill. There was only, and this comes back to some of the flux that came out of Flemington on Saturday, like a Raldo Junior and whatnot. There was only 8 on the rails and 2 or 3 off the rails on Saturday. That's as weak a Flemington ring as you'll see all year. A lot of them away at this time of year. There's not a lot of people there. Apparently it was deserted. It was freezing out the back at Flemington on Saturday. So why anyone would want to be out there is anyone's guess. So that's probably why you saw flux really come off.
But if you were a keen bookie at Flemington on Saturday, you know, like, I suppose it's hard to find customers betting, but that was a good meeting for a bookmaker.
Correct.
They were races that I went through that meeting 3 times and could never feel comfortable with my prices on most races. There were runners in every race that I could have had, massively different prices than I ended up at. You know what I mean? Like that. Jack Renaud Bay is a good example. Yeah. I could nearly have marked Jack Renaud Bay favourite or 25-1 depending on whether he was ready or not. You know, like it was just that kind of card. It was really hard card.
We might as well flick through Flemington. Potts, you advised no bets in the first because it was full of.
We've learned our lesson there, haven't we? Like I just tuned in with 10 minutes ago because I tell you I'm in town. I was doing Swan Hill. And then Southerly Wind, 2-1, what's must first starting? Yeah. What's Potts say about the race? No bet. What's Ralphie and Trevor say? No bet, no prices. Oh, okay. And 2-1, Cranbourne, no jump out, no trial. Moral. I just thought, this is a moral. We've learned our lesson. We've seen them all win. All these 2-1 chances coming out of Cranbourne jump outs, and it just never ever looked like it can do.
Now, how long have we been banging on about this for the unofficial backstraight trials at Cranbourne for? At least a couple of months, if not longer. It was nice to see on the jury duty this morning that they're finally waking up, that especially on a Saturday, that this is unacceptable.
Did they say something about that?
Jake Norton said it as well, that Racing Victoria need to look into it. Yep. There's a Wednesday meeting there Wednesday week. I'm hoping I run into Neil Bainbridge again and I'll mention it to him again that this is something that we need to sort out.
I just think it's absolutely...
It's all there. At least it's there. The website's there. They just need the names and the colours.
Exactly. And there it is, race 1 at Flemington on Sunday. So fair enough it's race 1, so you just ignore it and move on. But it's Flemington, it's the showpiece, and you've got a horse appearing in the race that there is no public information for at all. And it's... I was just talking to Phil Moyes, that works for Unibet, and they put up 10-1, and laid a reasonable bet at that price early in the week, and there's the horse starting 2-1. It's just I think that's a terrible thing for racing in Victoria.
And we've spoken about this. We're going. I know we're going over old ground, and we'll keep going over it. But this is one thing that they will learn. That these people that want to back these horses and want to have a decent sum on them will average out a better price if they've got trial, because people will have more confidence in the prices that they're putting up and they will lay you for more. It's simple.
And market forces at work. You don't know what other horses in the race, especially with the unraced and all that.
Well, you just brought up a good point, DK. So none of my subscribers are betting the race.
Yep.
None of, certainly not off my information, none of Trevor's, none of Ralph's. Yep. That's just taking out a massive chunk of liquidity out of the market.
Yep.
And, there'd be a lot of other people in the same boat. They just look at that and go, no thanks.
Well, I want to be lesson from Abby Marie betting against you. Ran second to it. Miles of Krishnan ran second to it. Both 2-1, heavily back 2-1 chances. So I just saw it there. So it's 2-1. This is moral. Mick Kent taking a horse down the straight the first time and it's live. It's just complete moral.
With no official draw. And yet, but you
must have beaten Sapido in a gallop or in a jump. That's what's happened.
Yeah.
And would have just shit in a jump out.
But that's your mindset though, isn't it, DK? We're in this for the long haul, so we need to figure this out. Whereas the regular punters who look at it on a Saturday and it's bet against Abby Marie and those sort of horses just go, well, I'm not betting.
How long is this going on?
Yeah, it's just like
running second to it. But anyway, so that was it. That's the story of that race, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And they've run no times, no good.
No, just typical.
Race 2 was taken out by, I think it'll be my horse to follow, Euro Angel.
That was quite a good effort, wasn't it? We rode it well.
Yeah.
It was in the sweet spot, produced at the right time. It was a strong weight.
And
strong for a horse at Reguma, very strong for a Reguma. A couple of quiet, typical Team Hawks trials. Didn't look like it was specifically tuned for a first up win in the trials. So
must have been very fit.
They had 2 runners on Saturday, 2 hawks. Euro Angel, who was first up and didn't look tuned right up, and Kilmacurra coming off a 1,400 metre race at Sale into a 2,000 metre race that was
just
strongly run. So a bit of a signal there that the 2 hawks are coming into a bit of a
and their
purple
horses
patch.
are very fit when they go to the races.
Very fit at the moment.
Very fit.
And we were steered into the rider, weren't we? Because Benny Thompson
that was funny. What are we going to do without the boy wonder? You tweeted him.
We tweeted
back.
We tweeted our boy Ben Allen and said, "You've got a holiday now. He's hurt himself. What are we going to do?" He said, "We'll just follow B Thompson." There was one for the punters.
He wrote it really well. There was a robot malfunction in that race.
Was it?
Yeah. I couldn't work it out. I don't know why storms are brewing.
Oh yeah,
into 6-1.
Then they had tipped on the right. I looked at what was going on here.
It was going to be last. It was always going to be last.
Yeah.
Off a Benoa maiden, which was okay with the margin, but no flash timer or sectionals or anything.
I'm pretty sure I wrote in the PBL chat room. Storms are brewing well backed. Needs to improve 5 lengths plus.
Yeah.
To be any chance. It was very odd. It was very
someone else
strange.
said to me, what, yeah, well, anyway. Well, I don't know how it ran 6-1.
In saying that though, there were some funny things happening on Betfair over the whole weekend.
That was a genuine, that was a go. That was $6 super tab it ran,
Well, I had a look yesterday. There was a bloke that was happy to lay for 1,000 a horse at 250 to 1.
Oh, I saw Ozzy tweeted something about that. Yeah, he said must have a fair balance or something.
But there was a few in the race. I mean, if you've got the balance in there, put it around.
Yeah. Anyway, I like that race.
Yeah,
it was a good testing race.
Yeah,
I know a lot of those horses around the placings. Joe Castor was well backed. He was in that race, Joe Castor.
Avenue Whisper.
Was awesome. Your girl, it was 100 to 1, ran really well. Elegant Queen.
Yeah,
she's racing really
she's
well.
Still first prep, isn't she? Start number 15 or something.
Yeah.
No breaks.
She just tries her guts out.
There was a good run in that race. I think I would have liked not to. I mean, everyone's seen it, so it's a bit of a disappointment, really, because I'm sure the odds makers won't make a mistake whenever she appears next. But Lady Selkirk.
What was she doing there?
She was stood on her head.
Oh, stood on her head, was her.
Yeah, she's out the back, come up the fence. She was just starting to run into the race, and she was going to run, in the first 4 probably, and was almost put through the rail, almost went down, and somehow, it was amazing how the jockey stayed on, and she picked herself up and ran through the line. So it was sort of, the incident was too obvious for people to miss it. So
she's been flying.
Yeah, she has.
He's camp.
Yeah.
He went really quiet for a while there, Peter, and then he got going, went to turn it around, put that performance in prior to Warrnambool, and then he had some other horses go really well, and then now he's had that thing called Royal Fantasy won Swan Hill.
Yeah.
It's found really good acceleration. Lady Selkirk, I backed her when she won a maiden, went to the bull, ran really well.
Yep.
And to turn around just keeps running, so he's flying the beater, but he's a good fella too, so good on him.
he should have had a winner at Sale on Friday, but he put Jordan Grob on the clappers.
Race 3 was the LV Lachelle Handicap, which used to be a hurdle race, but now is the 1,000 metre race. Thank you to the animal liberationists for not letting us have the hurdles at Flemington anymore, because it would have been just about the highlight of the car.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to talk about this race.
No, I don't bet you don't, because you've been on Rich Charm previous 1 or 2 starts.
I mean, I had 10. This is one of those races that I went through 3 times trying to, because I could have marked Rich Charm in single figures, and I would have if it was 1,100 metres. But out of 1,000 metres, I thought he's just not fast enough to beat him in 1,000 metres. And they sort of all brought each other undone. The horses in the market, sort of fooling around there, and he's got the suck run. It's the first time he's been really well ridden in a while, and he's bloused them. So he's a horse that probably shouldn't have gone around at those odds unbacked, but there you go.
Yeah.
And
the difficulty of that race was obviously trying to work out what to do with Wall Street Wolf.
Now he didn't handle the occasion well. I believe.
No, he paraded terribly. Like you don't parade any worse than that. He's a very talented horse.
Yeah.
So, but they've given themselves up now, so they'll go around favourite.
He's coming to go around 2:30 in town at their first start.
No, especially when they've done that.
now,
As soon as I saw him parade, I'm laying it. Like, I think, what's going on here?
Trying to get out of his mess.
but Pops, you were able to see that and then hear what David Hayes had to say in his pre-race interview. saying, I'm not really happy with his behaviour, he's sweating up and whatnot. Wouldn't it be nice if you're a punter at either Flemington or Swan Hill to be able to actually hear that information? Because sadly, a lot of the time, and one of the...
Yeah, it's a tough one because they've got the big TV on Sky Channel and they're going from race to race to race.
I understand on Saturday when there's a million meetings on, but I was tortured by going to racing.com park on both Sunday and Monday for the transferred meeting, and I had to listen to every dog meeting and every trot meeting from everywhere else in the world when I couldn't hear the post-race, the pre-race interviews, and especially...
It's hard, it's a hard one.
They sponsored the race course. At least have their audio feeding through so we can listen to that. That's one for what about the punters. At least give the punters that are there. I know people want to bet why don't we have a little separate area? Pakenham have a separate area where there's a tote and a whole heap of screens and they put Sky Channel on in there. We don't really need your ways on these minor days where you can't hear stuff like that because it's very valuable information, isn't it? Especially when David Hayes is coming out and said, I'm not really happy with how he's parading here.
And he's still run a very good race, that horse. Like, he's a nice horse. And
it also cost Regan Bayliss a suspension. And also the article that Matt Stewart wrote about the demands on some of these apprentices.
All right, Regan, he couldn't have got Elite Tiger home in the last for us, could he?
We'll get
that. All things coming at you.
And he's dragged it into the race. It's just cruel. Sometimes it's a very cruel game.
It is, mate, when you're in the...
Race 4 was taken out by lever action pods for Brooks Sweeney and Errol Argent coming off the...
Trigger cut?
Yeah. Well, he's done his thing, lever action.
That's what he does. Yeah, it's out there, you run me down, you know. Like, you want to sit out the back and cheat. The two favourites had second master last virtually,
yeah, they did.
You know, and he's up there doing the work.
Really?
I've got no sympathy for him.
They really should have run him down. But he hasn't got away with murder or anything. The last 600's very slow.
Yeah, I saw that.
They really should have got him. I mean, they weren't well ridden. Like they were too cute, looking at each other and everything. But those horses have all underperformed, not getting him. So disappointing. But so we had Rich Charm in the previous race at $34, and lever action here at 50s. You know, like there's been a lot of that at Flemington lately.
I reckon Holy Cow's a good bookies horse.
Yeah,
I know occasionally wins and all that. This horse got, I remember when it was a maiden, it got beaten at threes on and $1.40 within 3 starts.
Yeah.
Twice within 3 starts.
And it's never out of the market. It's never going to lob at 25s. It's always hard in the market wherever it goes.
She went completely missing last prep and running last nearly every start. So she did disappear from the market. Then she's refound the form but she was very, very plain there on Saturday.
I'm slow, no margins yet. No, I don't yet.
And one of our good subscribers, Benicio, asked me prior to the race, Potts, you got a mare coming from mare's form back to open class here. How come you haven't marked the longer? And it was a good, in hindsight, Benicio, it's a really good question.
Yeah.
I thought the mare's form she was coming from was really strong with Gabella in Adelaide, but she was pretty poor.
Another reason to be in the chat room, Potts.
But time to test. I was on time to test. And,
hasn't been able to run it down.
There's another Tony McAvoy horse that I've backed. It goes at this, and I still haven't collected yet once this year. So the list grows and the collects don't. Zero. Fucking donut.
I'll have to speak to MT2. We might get a counter up on the Punter Show website, Pods, for the amount of tips on Team McAvoy runners that you tip without actually winning. Race 5 was taken out by Raldo Jr. I've got a question mark over the flux, but obviously there was money for it.
Well, the pre-post was double figures anyway. Yeah. So, and the robots
Look, I
had a home run there.
Yeah, I did that race. I thought second bullet's an absolute trap bet here.
Trap.
Easy to mark favourite, but it's a trap. So I'm looking for an angle. And I thought, I went Hawksbird's got a platform, but he hasn't won for 3 years, and I was looking for everything, couldn't find anything, so I just decided to stay out of the race. But I suppose, I think I had the bar plates off, and going to the front.
Going to the front was going to. I went back to its form, and then the last time I did that was at Benalla Cup Day.
Yeah.
When it led and then just took off, and I must have said this is going to get a soft lead in this small field. Going to be able to canter his first mid-sectional 800 in the race and then sprint home last 800 and against a horse, the vulnerable favourite at 2500. That's what I sort of tried to make sense of it all,
Yeah,
so that's why the robots found him off the mat. Home lead, sprint home,
Well,
So the way I handle that race is like, so for our subscribers, I recommended no bets, right?
Yeah.
Because it was a race I didn't really like. But I had a very small bet on Hawkesbury early at big odds.
Yeah.
And a little saver on Falago. They were tiny bets, it wasn't really worth worrying about. When the first wave came for Raudo Junior, I just ignored it, like, whatever. When the second wave came, I thought, I need to save on this horse. Because I don't think Second Bullet's going to win this race.
And you weren't too heavily...
I wasn't heavily invested. So, you know, just
Yeah.
Well, that was one thing I was about to mention after speaking to a couple of the rails blokes yesterday who were there at Flemington, was it was a 3-wave go for a Raudo.
It was.
I might bring something in. I reckon if you, especially with the map, well, the robots are very heavy, map heavy. They love things that have got map advantage. So when if you've got it mapped in front, there comes second wave for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, chime in.
Yeah, chime in. Don't lose on the race.
Yeah.
You know, even though I'm totally convinced.
Now, race 6, there was a lot of this happening in the ring at Swan Hill. There was a lot of whoop whoop as it went across the line. There were plenty of the punters there.
You were one of them.
I may have been standing up on the stand shouting whoop whoop at that stage as well, because I always lead a winner, but
it's nearly the most brutal race I've witnessed in the...
The last 600 there is 39.58. Like, if for instance, I know it's like the best 600 for the day is Rich Charm, 34.41. Like, so you look at that and you think, I know it's only a 1,000-metre race, but that's almost like a good dead track type last 600. And even, sorry, General Truce went 33.78. It's even quicker, and most of the others are you know, in the 35, 36 second range, and this one they've gone nearly 40 seconds for the last 600. It's amazing how quickly they've gone through the first
50 on ratings to win for the second half.
Yeah,
50.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So what DK's saying is 50 means 25 lengths below average for the second half of the race.
Yeah.
And overall, they've probably gone above average, so it's over 25 lengths above average for the first half.
Well, Ralph tweeted out some stuff that said, they would have led the McKinnon field 10 lengths, the Melbourne Cup field 20 lengths, and not Melbourne Cup, the McKinnon or whatever it was.
So it indicates that Kilmacurra's run is hard to... It's incredible. For that horse to, to have it at the 200, and for that horse to...
Second up,
say, go, hang on a minute.
1,400 to 2,000, second up, wasn't it?
Wow.
It's just throws all this stuff we all believe we do every day, and that just happens, you know.
That's why we love the game, though. It's stuff like that that throws it up.
What's it going to be? You see what it does off that run.
Yeah.
Well, it could be a complete gutbuster, or it could just go. It could be anything, though.
Yeah, I'm tipping we won't see it for 3 weeks.
Yeah, definitely.
And there was a decent run on that race. It wasn't a great run to the eye, but it was first, second, fourth, and then another. I think it was 7 lengths back to 5th. And 4x4's a young horse that's done some really good things, and he ran 4th in that race. I think he's got a Saturday win any 4x4.
Race 7 was won by Jacques and Obey, and that's part of the reason why he needed to be in the chat room pots.
Yeah, well,
Throw something on it like, did you?
Yeah, well, he was a horse I had a lot of trouble with, because his best form was stronger than everything else in the race, but he was first up and it didn't seem likely. But then he paraded extremely well, and there was support for him, and I thought we need to have this. You know, it's a really good policy to have the strongest horse in the race on your side, particularly when they're 10 to 1. So a couple of units on him improved the result on the day for those in the chat room. So.
Well, I tuned into that race and saw all the money for Del Prado, so I kept my eyes on him the whole race, and he didn't have much luck buckets, and tried a really clear running, and geez, he was strong. He was like 3 lengths in front, 50 metres after the line. Arguably probably should have won in my book, but take nothing away from checking over.
He's that sort of horse.
Del Prado, no, but I just saw it was a big go. It was 12 into 6 or something. You know,
and he still keeps consistently riding well buckets too.
Well, I'm going to bring him. We'll talk about him in something for the punters.
I can't remember who the horse outside him was. He just couldn't shake the horse outside him. And then once he finally got a little bit in front of it, then he went again. But
I think if you watch the tape after the line,
you know, he went.
Was a mile in front, wasn't he?
Jack Obey completely had enough.
Gassed out.
He's first up, you know. So.
Race 8 was won by General Truce, and a couple of stories to come out of the race, wasn't there? There was T. Vassell training his first winner back. Welcome back, Tony. And Michael Felgate probably went a little bit too far, but to his absolute credit, he came out straight away on Twitter and apologised. He apologised again today on jury duty, and you know what? if you come out and admit you make a blue, we all make blues, we make a million of them. But if you come out and say I made a blue, I'm sorry for it, as far as I'm concerned, it's play on.
He just went one sentence too far. He said you've battled with the depression, and then he went and this and that. Which Tony was clearly uncomfortable there anyway.
Yeah.
Probably didn't expect to be there.
And it is live TV, and if it wasn't live TV, you've got a chance to edit it out, and it's as good as gold. So he's play on.
He's good at his job, Mike. He knew.
Yeah, and he knew that he made a blue.
Yeah. Back to who rode General Truce?
Hey, Melly, who has an affinity with that horse. And what was the reason he was on it?
Yeah. And he's right as well.
Can I just say, there was aspects of that map, Andrew, that helped you, but boy, did you do it well.
Yeah.
You just right behind Bullpit, kept Hard Rock one side and Olivier the other. That was exactly the way to win that race. It was very good. Well done.
Yeah.
I mean, the horse, and well done to Tony. He obviously got the old horse turned him around. Like he had old form that could win this race.
He did, but he only had him 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He was, but he worked him, and he said, he was going well, and so he they tootled down the Brighton TAB after Brecky and had something with the big odds, but the Roebuck marked him 25 to 1. But he's shitting. He was never ever going to get beat.
We've got a celebrity dame in here today, the last, well, I don't really want to talk about the last spots because this is just sick. Bradman Bowles beating Elite Tiger.
Yeah, I saw that.
I spoke to you, Pots. At least I had enough brains for once to at least take the $8 to place.
Yeah, you did well there.
But it would have been so much better if the 20s had lobbed.
When I did this race, I really wanted to trust my there was an instinct telling me that Elite Tiger was the horse to back in this race and ignore the rest. And I he had a long list of large SPs. I mean, he's actually got quite a good record. His performance is quite good.
I've watched him.
But he's got no short prices beside his name, so it sort of meant I had to include other horses and everything else. He really should have won the race. It was the run of the race. It was a great, well, along with All About Rhythm, who's the best Gate 1 performance of the day around the circle. So the only really good inside draw run of the day around the circle. And dirty old Bradman shredded into the race and got us in the last stride and turned what would have been a really good winning day into a small losing day for us and our subscribers.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the way it goes. I mean, at least we're finding those horses at 20 to 1.
Yeah,
that's it.
I recommended an each way bet on it. We got something out of the
race. Seconds are in the game.
And last week was pretty good. We had a really good winning day at Sale on Wednesday.
Yep.
The Potts players were finding winners most days during the week, and every time we didn't find the winner, we ran second. I don't think it was a race all week. We didn't finish in the money there somewhere. And Saturday wasn't a disaster, so even though there were some rough results there. So, we're slowly bouncing back and getting into some good form. And with for example, the Potts play stuff, that continually finding races where we're either backing the winner or running second does a lot for your confidence. It's good for all of us, to have regular collects and regular races where you're in the hunt. So it's good for all of us.
This is I've been saying this to anyone who's willing to listen, Pots. I'm going to be teaching my kids to be place punters because if they are, they'll be absolute multis with the amount of placings that I make. That'll do us for the review part. We'll be back with What About the Punters in part 2 in a minute.
What about the punters?